I feel like I have to do that because I said happy birthday to Crypto a few days late, so I feel like I owe him that. I owe him just that much.
You do owe him that, and you actually owe them a lot more.
Oh, wow.
That can be paid in due time, and hopefully Chicken Dinner will kick things off. But this game one, it is underway, and Playing Path Max is pretty healthy-ish, going from the east down to the south. Actually, no, it's not as good as I initially thought because
oh, great, yeah, I was about to say
if you want to help north. I was trying to be optimistic, dude, okay? I was trying to be optimistic.
No, man, you know me, I'm the evil caster here in the duo. I love to see teams suffer with really bad playing path, and it seems like this one's not going to be all that fun for a few of the teams. I'm thinking especially at, for example, Na'Vi. They like to drop in Northern George Pole. We'll see if they can try and elongate their job location to that spot. But really, typically when you had these big international tournaments happen, and we had quite a few mouth scrims and especially community-run tournaments recently, and we saw that there were a few hot drops. I'm expecting those to be fixed, and I'm not expecting to see any big altercations, any big fights, any squad wipes happening in the first few minutes of this game, hopefully off the back of what we were able to witness in these last recent tournaments for the past few weeks. So hopefully things are going to be pretty chill. But I gotta say, Imperium, before we get into... Oh, I'm seeing actually some things on the menu now that alerts me a little bit around Zeus. Hopefully things don't go too bad, but the Phase 1 circle is great. With the playing path, it looks amazing. So actually teams don't even have to go that far. They can just stick around and they'll be already in circle.
I8 have a good start with this playing path drop spot down in military base. It's where they've always tended to land, even if it's a plane path up north, so it's going to be good for them. Relatively quick to loot up and move out. This Phase 1 circle is a little bit tricky because I think it encapsulates enough of military island that it could tease shifting down in that direction if a Phase 2 goes down south. Blacklist are heading up north to go to Severny. You have DRS and Yasnaya. Yala, I like this 2-2 split that they pulled out because instead of it being prison shelter 2-2 split, it's actually a prison mansion. Now, is that off the back of Zeus catching one of the players off? Possibly, but I still like it because it's adaptability. And Yala, to be fair, coming into this lobby, probably one of the teams I'm worried about the most, Max, just because it's been so long since we've seen them on the international stage.
I mean, especially when your first interaction in the game, when you're in this international lobby, is usually like, okay, well, maybe this is not the team we want to go up against. We're just going to go Autobots roll out, just go spread towards Mansion Prison, hopefully take things relatively slow. But that's the thing, right, as you mentioned, not only for this team of Yala Esport from Saudi Arabia, but there's also so many teams in this lobby that this is their first time playing at this level with these high caliber teams like your Bigotrons, like your Zeus, like your Na'Vis, and that's a lot of pressure coming into it, and it requires a lot of preparation. So a team like Yala, I'm looking at them, have you guys prepared enough for an event like this? Have you done your research? Have you done your homework? If so, it still won't be easy, but it'll make things a little bit easier for you.
Seems like Navi have low-key struggled to find their feet in terms of looting up. They drop towards kind of the Roshawk River area, but Meku gets caught out trying to go for a vehicle by Martin of Valdis. Now, this Valdis team, I've been really impressed with how much they've improved in the last 3 or 4 months. I've watched them in their respective PMPL. I've noticed how observant they've been. And how much they've been improved, and I'm looking forward to seeing Valdis in this PMWI.
What's happening?
Okay, yeah.
Me and the boys on a Friday night, man. This is just, we're going out on a party. We're going out on a whim. Matic just going to get the res, hopefully, on this fallen teammate. And they're going to try and get the hell out of that one. The smoke will be coming on through. Okay, Martin is just 1v4 in Na'Vi right now. They do not want to take that fight. Interesting altercation. Matic going to try and get back onto the bike. Oh, he takes a shot. And he gets hit once again, and I think it might be the next to follow up, and that's 2 down for Na'Vi. What is happening? This has to be the weirdest start to a tournament I've ever seen on the international stage. And now Valdis, they really want to go for the murder this time around. They want to take down the entirety of Na'Vi, Imperium. As Concept is going to be the one leading the march forward, but he's alone, so you've got to be careful to not be overzealous. But Six also has the off angle over to the west. So Na'Vi are just getting completely surrounded. Tixie takes a headshot. And now it's just down to 1, and I think that we are looking already at the end of Na'Vi in the first game of the World Invitational.
like, it was extremely straight up stupid of Navi to even attempt to go for that revive, to be honest, right? It was one player down. There was no need to try and go for that revive like that. You could have just gone to North George, looted up as a 3-man, and yeah, okay, you're a player down, but at least you're not a whole squad down like they are at the moment. So a very shaky start and some weird decision making being made from Navi. Like, even at the start, they were extremely lucky that it was just Martin that was there. If it was more than one, it would have been even worse, even quicker for Navi. But hey, opportunity arises. Valdis are going to grab that. They get the squad up, and essentially 4 free kills in that one for Valdis, and hey, good start.
Yeah, but that's the scary thing. It's just Martin, right? It is Martin we're talking about. Teams already going to be on the move, and they mentioned on the desk, right? There are a few teams, and especially from countries we don't typically see that much. And this is going to be Team Myth from Algeria, already on the move. Currently, they're looking to try and enter from the more northern eastern edge. You've got to be careful. You've got teams like Yala, DRS especially. I remember DRS back in the PMGC League stage. They used to play as Napoleana, but would always have a little bit of a skirmish with Archer from South Korea. So this time around, not going to have any issues for DRS, but Myth got to be careful, and they should know there is going to be DRS towards Yasnai Poliana. So as you approach that location, maybe I would recommend them to get out, start scouting, make sure no teams can actually hinder your chances to find a good position. But it seems like they're not going to be scouting, they're just going to zoom their way forward. They must be hearing the cars of DRS, so hopefully they don't get too close and they just go their separate ways.
I'm really surprised that Yala didn't join up as a full 3-man team off the back of losing a player. I know that kind of prison mansion looting phase is relatively split, but by this stage of the game, you're 7 minutes in, you should be joining up as a trio. Now they're pinched in between both DRS and Myths, trying to find our way together. Too little, too late, possibly, or are DRS in a position where they're going to be able to take those shots? Not quite. Yala, you've very heavily gotten away with that one, my friends. They'll be able to join up now and move in. They're in the center of this phase 1, which does make sense for a team to have lost a player early on. A1 are going to be a little bit down towards the southwest of them. Zeus as well, who already have a kill on board. And the Xavier, they dropped in Pachinki. They're just starting to move out of it. I don't mind, but I also think it's a little bit late of them moving out of Pachinki, where they're not getting as much information on the kind of more central/eastern side of the map.
I think this is a decision making that's purely based on the information they gathered through recent tournaments and scrims, as I did mention. Normally you would see teams rotate relatively early to get that information you just rightly mentioned, Imperium, but because they know that there are not many teams to drop around that spot right now, they could take it slow. And I think that's okay, right? If you are getting into the unknown, scouting is even more important. When you know how teams drop and how they rotate, you can slow it down a little bit and just play around your loot a little bit more. Hope Tier 3 helmets, Tier 3 vests, and play around that a little bit more. But they're already moving to Xavier, as you did say, and they are, I believe, pushing himself currently onto Potato Hill. Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. So they're going to have a 2-2 split and already having some kind of information coming their way, which is great. And it is relatively central on the circle itself. So I think the Xavier's got already a recipe for success. Of course, we need to wait and see where Phase 2 circle tends to go. But the rotation away from Military Island, should I say, to the southern side is going to be a little bit slow, as we might see a little bit of an altercation towards the western bridge. Reject a little bit spread, but got to try and be careful where you're not ready to defend that bridge camp.
Both teams seems like they're going to be avoiding each other coming into Phase 2. It's a nice centralization on this Phase 2, and I don't think it's south enough that Military Island will be considered, at least for any of the teams. As far as the hard shift, it could still be, but I don't think any of the teams are going to take that risk. Fnatic Zombies, they're still in Novo, but they should have a bit more space coming in on towards that eastern bridge side. They gotta be aware that they have a lack of information. Now for the teams that are in a centralized location, A1, Zeus, BTR, Xavier, there's going to be a lot of action that they're going to have to protect themselves around, right? 360-degree cover is going to be required, and up on the roof, Dante taking those shots. That's a good way for A1 to start the controlling area around them.
I'm surprised that Rabbids actually got that close to a compound that he had no information about. That is a no-no in PUBG Mobile Esports. You do not do that. If you know there's a team that's going to be in the compound, especially don't get close to it. If you don't know, then it's always a risk. And Darth Dante on top of the roof, he's just the eye of Sauron of the lobby for the compound, making sure no one could get around, and he could just also scout that information for his team. So everyone also in a relatively good spot, and especially in that phase 2 circle, they're right in the dead center. So they're not going to move anytime soon unless the team wants compounds to pick from Imperium right now. It shouldn't happen for the next 5 to 10 minutes, I would say.
Well, just have a lot of space in the northern half of the circle, still in Rozhok. Of course, there was an early engagement which technically slowed down their looting phase by taking on Navi, but for the most part, a lot of space around them that they can come in from. There's not too many like compounds. They can just go up and towards the north side of Potato Hill, and there's a juicy compound, small little compound that they can play around, but for the most part, outside of school apartments, there's not too many places they can go in terms of hard cover and be more out in the open. Man, Blacklist International coming in through ruins. They're another team that are still outside the circle. But I think this is relatively standard to what we see for first games of a big tournament, right, Max? Passive, feeling each other out, because as much as scrims have been played, scrims are never, ever, ever any real idea of what's going to go down in a tournament. So that first game, that first couple of games are always passive in these kind of tournaments.
You just can't be like, oh, that happened in scrims is going to happen now. Well, that's not how it works, unfortunately. It does represent a good portion. I would say maybe 80% of what you see in scrims will be replicated in the actual tournaments, but there's that little piece of unknown that changes, and that is what really can surprise you. And we're playing PUBG Mobile, right? This is a game where a split second of indecision, or you're just completely surprised and flabbergasted by something happening, you're done. Your team is just squad wiped instantly. So that little information gain can definitely make a really big difference. Though Myth, they already made a difference in their position. They started moving in, playing a lot more onto the edge side, not ready to really take the fight, but they are currently surrounded by teams, and the only way for Myth to really avoid any kind of fights with the likes of DRS, Yala, or even DS Gaming is to just go down south around Milta and enter that way into farm. As of right now, they don't really have too much information around them, so they need to be cautious what their next move is going to be, especially trying to enter phase 3.
But when you're talking about kind of setting yourself for that phase 3 and that exit potential from a position, Myth has had one of the best, but with centralization, it's going to make it quite tricky. Now, they can shift up north around DRS, but look how quick DRS are to respond to that circle shift. Instantly, all in their cars, all together, moving in and going to shift in and wrap on towards the north side. Why didn't Valdez go to the compound that I noticed? They're heading to it now, and they might get there before DRS, but I feel like if they had have gotten there earlier inside phase 2, they'd be much better set up to maybe push DRS away and even grab a couple of kills, whereas now I wonder how easy they're going to be able to push DRS back.
Well, DS Gaming currently from South Korea going to go for the push onto NASA Esports. Sailing going to be shut down from the distance. That's going to be some great use of utility to try and take them out of the Harry Potter building. That's going to be down now to only one. Hassan, last player surviving for the entirety of NASA Esports. Going to try and hold his own on that spot. If I were him, not really taking that fight versus DS Gaming. DS Gaming going to try and clear up the last remaining kills to get every single point they can get. But Hassan is, okay, get in the buggy and leave. That is not worth fighting for. And there you go. He's going to leave that position because that would make no sense to remain too long for.
Myth going for straight rotation into the circle. Yala onto DRS, taking that fight. Loka is there with Bandar. That is knocked down, but look at that by Loka. Although he gets knocked down, that's great work by him. Why is Bandar getting the revive onto Ada when he could be supporting Loka and getting the squad wipe? Poor decision making from Yala.
This is the type of building that is very easy to nade, and you know exactly where they were going for the res. The information should be given. Oh, that nade completely misses the mark for Bandar. Ida also going to try and do something similar. The res did come on through and also did pull off the first aid kit. Jumps right behind the wall. That is the great position to slow down that push from Yala Esports. Oh, the nades are just completely exploding up this building, but AJ seems completely untouched by those grenades coming on through. Bandar now going to go for the push, try and wrap around. Does he have the information? No, he does not. Bandar loses his head in the process, and now it's going to be a 1v2 Ida left remaining, but there's a sneaky third party happening from the south by DS Gaming. Ida gets it done. That's going to be DRS. Gets himself down to one player. 1v1 currently happening. Yalla Esport versus DRS. Who will be coming out on top? I mean, really, Imperium, if you're DS Gaming, you see this fight, you're going to go for the full-on push after that, but Ida gets the jump and gets himself the final kill as Yalla Esport remain alive, but as a one-man crew, but that's still 4 kills coming their way.
Really good from Yalla Esports. They could have cleaned it up quicker and without losing so many players, but still really good strength, especially again from a team that we haven't really seen in the international stage. Taking out the mites of South Asia, the best team in Nepal, DRS. It's a good way for them to start their PMWI run. Now we head on over to Reject Scarlet. The Japanese representatives looking to put pressure on the Blacklist International on the coastal side of this mainland. Alas, he's just getting the hell out of there, Max.
Yeah, he heard that hint of the grenade being pulled and he was in that shack. Like, that is a recipe for disaster. You don't want to send to that one? Okay, well, fair enough. Sarah tries to get a little bit wider and does get knocked out by one of the players of Blacklist International. Not a really easy position to move away from, Imperium, I would clearly say, so Reject's got to be very careful what their next step is going to be in this game, but the rest is going to come on through. It still has a 2-man, but you need to be careful because they're not in the circle, and they need to think of the next step, which is to try and enter, and there's currently a lot of teams on the outskirts of the next circle, so this is not an easy rotation for the Japanese representatives.
Not at all. Myths have a great spot inside the circle. They're a team that went quite direct from their position in phase 2 onto phase 3, and it's worked out for phase 4. And sometimes going for the direct rotation is actually better than that unorthodox rotation, because if 2 or 3 teams go for that unorthodox rotation, it actually makes that direct rotation just a lot cleaner, a lot easier. So really well played by Miss, and they pulled it off at the right time. They are going to have BTR to the south of them, which is obviously going to be hard to deal with, while A1, once again, continuing to try to protect their position inside the circle. Unfortunately, it's gotten to the point in the game where they're more on the edge rather than centralization, so I'd like them to start to be a bit more aggressive in preparation for Phase 5.
This is extremely complicated for IA. There is so many teams on the outskirts. If you're trying to go for Potato Hill, there is going to be Geek Fam. So I think they got the information right now. They've seen the utility, they've seen the smokes. They are alerted of Geek Fam's current position. But they're just trying to slow things down a little bit, but it seemed like they want to go for this fight, because if they avoid it, they're just going to get backstabbed by Geek Fam from the high ground of this Potato Hill position, and you are going to be in such a bad spot, it's not even worth taking. So you got to think, do we go for the full-on aggression, or do we go for the fight? And it seems like IA want to go for the fight onto Geek Fam. Utility's going to be traded back and forth. Brevo's going to be actually knocked down almost instantaneously, as they need to try and follow it up. The entire team is not pushing this one, so you're giving the man advantage indirectly over to Geek Fam as they're trying to spread down. But the DP28 shots will not connect any further. So this is a nice attempt, but unfortunately the execution did leave a little bit to desire, Imperium, as Geek Fam are just holding it down super strongly and showing no signs of weakness.
That was pretty good from IA, because they know that it's pretty safe behind them, but I don't know why they sent 2 people so deep into that team fight. If you're going to send any, just send 1. Don't send 2. Now they're down to 2 players. They're in a desperate situation. That decision was quite poor, and it maybe shows their lack of experience. Look, I was talking to Crypto yesterday on his Instagram live, and they are full of confidence coming into this, but you got to be able to back up that confidence with good decision making, and that decision was not good, and they'll be struggling with 2 players left.
Hey, you know what? It's just the first game. We've got 20 games. Hopefully they can try and learn from it a little bit. We've got 3 wrangles too, so this is great. It's going to be a really valuable experience, though. IC is going to be able to get himself a great knock onto one of the players of I8. And now it's only Crypto. He's got an MT49, though. You've got to be careful. They do spawn out of crates now. So they're going to be in the wild everywhere for you to pick up and use to your team's advantage. They're going to try and go out again, trying to get the intel. He's trying to look for that nade. Will he get it? He's trying to cook in time. It looks good. It's such an easy nade to connect on, and he does get the double whammy. That's Icy clearing out I8 as they get eliminated in 14th.
Welcome to the PMWI I8, representing Pakistan with a lot of pride, and I'm sure you'll do so much better in the following games. But as we move on, 13 teams left. DS Gaming outside the circle. That shift did centralize once again. Gotta say, for the first game of the day, these shifts have been incredibly calm, right? I feel like it's allowed, for the most part, teams to play very smoothly to how they want to, and to really position themselves strongly inside the circle if they've made the right decision to do so.
Hopefully that's going to be the case. Zeus have yet to really move away from their spot this entire game. They've been chilling. They've been having a real good old relaxing time. So got to be careful. Teams will try and take down your position very soon. Though Valdus, the Murder versus DS, they're going to have a little bit back and forth, try and making sure they can zone out each another, but Valdus see there's no value in this fight at all the time being. So we're going to try and move on forward though. A1, there you go. That's the fight currently happening. This Blacklist International. Jarrett's got to be a little bit careful. The mollies are going to be chucked. That's going to be a down low, but no, they take so long to actually get that knock. And actually the molly does come on through, but will get the knock at the very end onto Jackson. Now he's going to go for the push. That's going to be a great engagement from Sinister itself. And this is amazing from the Bangladesh team. Though, can you try and close this one off properly with Dante to back you up too? This is looking so good for A1. As Blacklist also down to 2, Tira and also Alas. Things are slowing down because of this utility so far.
Use the force, Dante. Use the force. Alas
he's using it.
Knockdown concerns, but no!
Oh, Alas from behind. There you go. That's the 1v2 currently happening, and A1 Esport get completely swiped out of the lobby in 13th place. Alas, the 1v2 clutch. That's what we need, and that's what smokes do. It takes a little bit of a harder toll on your team, and it makes it a lot harder to deal with. Though, Zeus is going to be having Icy completely cornered inside this Harry Potter building. Though they're on the bottom side, there is something to work out with Icy. If he does a very similar nade from earlier, he could take down the entire opposing team, but it seemed like they're going to give him a shot of its own medicine, as Icy will be knocked and away from the rest of the Zeus squad.
There is, of course, third parties from the Xavier, from the Reject Scarlet player, so there's a lot to contend with in towards an open high ground position and towards the northern side of the circle. Geek Fam trying to deal with it, but Godless is just picking up with those SLR bullets. So good from Godless, and a nade. And nade is going to hurt Geek Fam massively. He takes him out. He takes his own team out.
The thing with Zeus especially is that they have not been fighting for a big portion of that game. That means that all of their resources are currently at the almost tippity top of their back capacity. They got everything they need: utility, bullets, weapons, and also they're going to have that full HP vest and also their full HP helmet. So they're going to be fully prepared to take any fight that comes their way. But they're going to have to take some fights talking about that because of this phase 5 shifts. Go straight down south over to the western edge, looking amazing for the likes of Blacklist International. But they're going to get slowly but surely contested by BTR. That has been relatively silent this game, and they're going to try and sneak up on Blacklist International to maybe sneak that position under their control.
Xavier feeling the pressure. Blacklist, really good cover shots being fired up, and let's be fair, they have the circle in their control, and BTR are to the southeast of them. They've been relatively quiet in their game, and it might be their time to wake up. Will BTR grab the first chicken dinner of the day, or will it be the Philippines representatives, Blacklist International?
I'll have to wait and see. It would be great to see a Filipino team kind of perform well on the international stage. Not really a country that we see too much of on these big events with a lot of the top teams. And intrigued to see if they can try and get some good results. Sid's going to get battered down by BTR. Does get knocked though for his trouble. So that's going to be making things a little bit easier. But Gary, the old player of Power 888, will try and go for the full-on engage. Seem like they want to try and avoid potentially BTR. This is not a team you want to take a head-on-head fight for with Deek Xavier, as they do get eliminated out of the lobby. So now we're only down to 6 teams in this game. The Zeus, they're going to start moving forward versus Geek Fam, but Geek Fam having a real hard time actually trying to hold on to the northern edge.
Liquid trying to push in. Suxy's still on the outside of the circle, which I think is very strong, but it's getting to the point where they've allowed Valdus to get back up to find their feet in towards this fight, and that realistically shouldn't have been the case. The passiveness from BTR maybe is going to be the death of them as the nades are being fired up, and Zuxi does get confirmed up.
Talking about it on the desk earlier, I think Blair said that Valdus can be a little bit hit and miss, but this is definitely a hit. And they are going to go home with a minimum of 9 kills, and we'll see if they can try to put it up to an extra bunch if they can go to double digits. But Valdus, they know they already hurt a few of the teams around them. That's going to be creating a lot more breathing space over to the east, so they're going to try and ease their way forward. They're actually inside the circle itself, so that's not really too much of an issue. The Martin currently got knocked. You can very easily get that res. As the utility of Liquid actually connects, and it looks so close. The grenades are absolutely connected and shredding the competition. Valdus are getting taken down one by one, as Concept trying to assist his team with the mollies, trying to stop the aggressiveness from BTR to come on through. But BTR, they are just so good at holding these type of angles, and Valdus, the moment those smokes go out, you are in dire trouble.
And I was wondering why BTR weren't chucking out a load of grenades towards Valdez earlier on, and now it all makes sense. They were maybe waiting for the right time to pull it off, and indeed they found it at that point. Only grabbing 1 kill, but does take the body advantage away from Valdez. As it's all quiet on the western front, a bit of a reposition down towards the south side. The circle has gone towards Blacklist. 5 teams left, 11 players max.
This is a close one. Luckily enough for Zeus, no one is close enough to them to actually nade them, so they can very easily remain in close quarters. Got to be careful. Lapis, sneaky Lapis from Japan for reject. Could be a little bit of a thorn in the side for Zeus if they don't play around it accordingly. M249. This could be great if you want to get multiple knocks to Blacklist, but at this kind of range, the recall makes it pretty hard, so if you have an M4, might be a better option at this point in time for them. Oh, that's the push. Oh, great fight coming out Liquid, looking over to Valdez's side. That's going to be 1 knockdown to 1 on their side, but Zeus also going to go for the aggressive push onto Blacklist International. He's going to go for the engage. Claes is going to be trying to close that gap. Abony right behind that crate is able to get actually some really big damage, but unfortunately off to the side was not seeing it. Chiro does get the knock on side of it, and now Gold is trying to eke his way forward, trying to sneak his way inside a decent spot, avoid detection, but Zeus give it a fair shot, but unfortunately the control of Blacklist International Imperium is too strong to deal with.
I also think Lapis had a bit of a third-party play in that one, so Goddess with the M249 misses that one, but unfortunately for him, Blacklist will clean them up.
You know what? ESO is just a little bit longer. That's a third position going away, actually, of rejects. So that's great. That's amazing for Lapis and for the Japanese representatives. But now only 2 teams remaining. It's Bigatron versus Blacklist International. We'll see which will be the ones to actually push their way forward. No Liquid, the blue zone. That's horrible for them. Now down to 1 player. They see that. They know this is a 1v3. How do you want to push this position? Ryzen, there's no bush on this road. There's no clutch play for you to deal with. You need to take them down 1 by 1, and then that might be a chance. But without any utility to deal with, it looks like we might be looking at the undo.